Nostalgia holds you back. Nostalgia holds you back in ways that people don't exactly realize. You notice nowadays a lot of people that are like, we should go back to, let's just say like XY time. We'll go with 25th or 2016. Well, we can do 2016. A lot of people are like, we want to go back to this time or whatever. And I feel like it's negatively impacting people more than it's positively impacting people. Yeah, things can kind of suck now. Like yes, things are gonna be terrible, but things are always gonna be terrible eventually. But I feel like we make more progress moving forwards and past all of that, rather than sitting there with rose tinted glasses, begging for those days to come back. Because those days, like, let's be real here, they're not coming back. 2016 isn't coming back. 2016 is in the past. It's gone. And I'm not sure that people exactly realize that that's gone. Like I said, a lot of people want to move back, but I feel like it's making it harder to, live in the present when people are so focused on things were so much better back then, things suck now. Well, I think that maybe, it's more of a thing of that times were simpler back then. It wasn't about that things were better. It was just that they didn't have as many responsibilities back then. Stuff wasn't nearly as important back then. And now we live in a day where a lot of us are doing stuff, schooling, work, jobs, careers. We're all, moving on to more important stuff. A lot of stuff that's more stressful. I feel it's mostly, it's not even that I feel, it truly is that it's just that people want to feel these old, they want to feel like that they're a kid again, and they want to feel like that they how they felt 10 years ago or whatever when they didn't have responsibility. It's the truth. I feel like it makes it harder to be happy when you're always comparing to a simpler time, because that's just not fair to compare. I feel, once again, I feel like it just traps you in a past that's just completely unreasonable. Um, it makes it hard to actually engage with what we're doing in the current day. People are so focused on before that they can't. They sit here and waste time in the actual like current world, instead of they're stuck in the past or whatever, and they're just sitting there thinking about memories and all that, instead of the actual stuff that needs to happen, I guess would be the word for it. I feel like when people sit there and sulk and think about the past, they end up just getting more upset. You're just sadder that way than you are if you realize that nostalgia is not really the greatest thing. It can be happy sometimes. 20 years from now, we're all going to be nostalgic for the games that we hate now. But I feel like we shouldn't sit there and sulk and be sad about it. I think that we as like a collective, collective group of people need to stop trying to be stuck in the past, move on to what's in front of us right now. I I just feel like that's more important, and like I said, I feel like people are feeling sadder, and they take too much time thinking about the past, and it just ends up ruining their day. They feel very upset about it. I feel like they're also just not as motivated, because they're like, oh well, things were better back then. I had 1,000 ideas back then. Now I have none. And once again, I feel like that's just people thinking in the past rather than thinking in the present. It's a really unfortunate thing. It's just really, you want people to be their best self or whatever. And I feel like in order for that to happen, people need to, give up on what's happened, and they need to move forward instead of sitting there and thinking by themselves. And I feel like, um, you know, we can like find a new way to be without needing nostalgia in our lives. We can just change things and find new thoughts, new experiences, new ideas, new feelings to move past what we like feel when we're talking about nostalgia and all that. Is nostalgia all bad? Absolutely not. Nostalgia can be good. Right now, let's go with what I'm playing. I'm playing a game that's 17 years old, 17, 18 years old. I'm not exactly sure. This game is extremely old. Yes, it's nostalgic to me, but I'm not sitting here. I'm not like, oh, these times were so much better. I'm not gonna move on because I still play games that came out this year. I mean, I might not play Call of Duty. I don't think Call of Duty is that great anymore. But I'm not sitting there sulking about like what could have been, because once again I feel like we just need to move forward, as to a point to where in the next couple of years I'm not gonna be playing video games as much anymore, because I'm gonna actually just acknowledge that that this present time that I'm in is gonna be the past, eventually, and we're gonna actually move on instead of just sitting here and, like I said, sulking in our own just room and all of that, and just kind of sitting there. I feel like we just need to move on as a group of people, and honestly, that's really what I can think of off the bat. I kind of came up with this idea the other day, and I'm just going into this with no script, and I'm just talking. But like I said, I feel like we need to, quit letting nostalgia hold us back, and we need to focus more on the present and what we want to actually achieve as people or whatever, rather than sitting there and just sitting there and not really doing anything. And nostalgia does hold you back, and when you let it control your life, you don't want to let it control your life, and you shouldn't let it control your life. You should, have a healthy medium, have a healthy balance. There's a healthy balance for everything. I feel like that's something that people need to get grips of, is that, that quote unquote healthy balance. That's what people need in their life. That's what I'm working towards. I'm striving towards a better, happy medium for myself. I used to sit here as well and be like, man, games suck nowadays. I only want to play games from, this point and this point. And I realize that I'm just going to be upset if everything is negative in my life. So I myself am moving forward. I'm leaving behind the past and pushing forwards. So, same thing can be put with stuff. I'm just using a gaming example because that's what I'm playing right now. We can go with like school. Like, I know a lot of people, miss high school, miss middle school, which I don't know. I know for a fact I don't miss middle school. That wasn't exactly the happiest time of my life. But there's people that also just miss high school, which I guess makes a little more sense. But, for me, that's not going to be a thing. I don't really care. I just want to get it over with, personally. But I feel like, a lot of people are like that, and, it lets their feeling affects their everyday life, and it honestly it really sucks, honestly. So that's everything I have to say. I'm just trying to make this a short little video where I have a conversation and speak. So yeah, I'm done. I'll see you guys next time.